Cars are rolling at Daytona International Speedway. The track is open for NASCAR Sprint Cup Series practice for the Gatorade Duel at Daytona that you will see live here on Speed tomorrow. It is a beautiful day in Daytona Beach. Not a cloud in the sky, except a few to the west. 76 degrees. Tomorrow it will be 80 in the grandstands when we run the duel. But there is quite a breeze here. 20-mile-an-hour gusts, white caps on Lake Lloyd inside the back straightaway as the cars roll out for practice. Hi everybody, Mike Joy, Larry McReynolds, Jeff Hammond with you, and here's what we know so far. 43 cars will start the Daytona 500. 39 of those names are known now that pole qualifying is completed. So Larry, let's first deal with the 39 drivers who are going to be in the Great American Race. What's their agenda here?
Well, this is the first time they've been on the racetrack with these cars since we qualified on Sunday because the track was closed yesterday and on Monday. But Mike, I think all of the cars, but especially those 39 cars that know they're in the 500, they're going to walk the tightrope in these 2 one-hour practice sessions, trying to find the balance between a good driving race car and a fast race car. We saw in the Budweiser shootout, having a fast race car wasn't necessarily the way to go once the tires started sliding around. So I think that's going to be the big thing, and that's tough because to make it drive better, you may have to give a little bit of speed up.
Now, Jeff, 17 teams are looking for only 4 positions left in the starting field, and we'll find out who those 17 or who those 4 will be tomorrow. What are they up to in this session?
What they're up to right now, Mike, is the fact that they've got to figure out who they can work with to get that opportunity to get one of those 2 positions in both of these races that are coming up tomorrow. So that means if I'm in that second duel, for example, like a guy like Boris said, I want to find someone that I can race with that's in that race. I don't need to be messing with the guys that are in the first race. I could get confused. I could find out that maybe when I run, for example, with maybe a guy like Jeff Gordon, that my car is extremely fast, but maybe Jeff's in the first race. So you have to be smart enough to know who you're racing and kind of like get a battle plan. And I think during these practice sessions, this is what a lot of these teams are going to be doing, looking for that ideal dance partner. And, oh, by the way, I just want to tell you one thing, Larry. Darrell may disagree with you about the fact you got to give up some speed to be able to get a good handle.
All I know is we better roll these sleeves up. We got work to do.
We got work to do.
2 hours of practice. We'll be with you from now until noon Eastern and back with you again at 2 p.m. to 3 Eastern time. Our Toyota track description: Daytona International Speedway, built and opened in 1959, and the tri-oval and the oval course for the stock cars just as it was then. 2.5 miles around, 31-degree banking, 18 in the tri-oval. The track configuration has not changed since this track was built. Now, let's concentrate on those 17 drivers for a moment who are trying to get into the 500. We do know that Bill Elliott, Tony Stewart, Travis Kvapil are in on speed. We know that Terry Labonte is in the race by virtue of the Champions Provisional. But those drivers are locked in, but not those positions. Any one of those 4 could race their way in and be one of the 2 highest finishing drivers among the go-or-go-homers in their Gatorade race and make the field that way. Should that happen, there are 4 drivers waiting at the back door to get into the field on qualifying speed, and there they are in order of speed: Regan Smith, Joe Nemechek, Boris Said, and Scott Riggs. Those are the only drivers of the 17 who can elevate themselves into the field on speed. Everyone of the 17, and here they are, have the opportunity to race their way in on Thursday. You have to be one of the 2 highest finishers in your Gatorade duel among the go-or-go-homers.
And what's important about that, that's where those guys can't get greedy tomorrow. All that matters, it doesn't matter if you finish 10th or 15th, as long as you're one of those top 2 guys that's not already locked into the Daytona 500. And honestly, Mike, that's where the crew chief and the spotter really, they have to be on their game to make that driver aware you're okay where you're at. Don't worry about trying to get out front or try to worry about passing race cars.
So just how many scenarios are out there, Larry? Probably what?
Lots.
a million scenarios.
Bottom line, finish as high as you can and see where it falls.
Here's our Budweiser shootout runner-up, Jamie McMurray, who led the white flag lap and got beat to the checker, Chris Devoto.
Well, Mike, you might think that Jamie McMurray and his team would be hanging their head after that almost win in the Bud Shootout. Not the case at all. I talked to crew chief Donnie Wingo just a few moments ago. He said he is ecstatic. He is having so much fun down here, and if they can get this car to handle as close or even close to how the car ran Saturday night, they will be in good shape. What is the goal for Jamie in this practice? Just to stay out of trouble. He plans on this first run to just stay down on the bottom. Let's go over to the other side of the garage and Matt Yoko.
Chris, it's already been a very productive and impressive Speed Weeks 2009 for the 2008 Daytona 500 winner, Ryan Newman. His team debuted in qualifying, turned in the third fastest time. They'll be on the outside of the front row for their dual 150 on Thursday. Now for this session, Ryan and his U.S. Army team have a couple of different agendas. They're just trying to make the race car handle. He and crew chief Tony Gibson sat down and worked up a couple of different ideas for this session. And as far as the productive part of Speed Weeks, Monday night, for the first time ever, Ryan Newman added something to his racing resume that had been missing: a win in a NASCAR Tour Type Modified. At New Smyrna, he went to Victory Lane, driving Kevin Bonomanion's 7NY with a Tom Baldwin Sr. paint scheme. And they ran last night, had another great night, but they're having fun in Speed Weeks 2009. Mike?
One young driver who is not having fun is Joey Logano in the 20. Jeff?
Yeah, Mike, I was watching the 20 car, and he looked like he was dancing around an awful lot. He went off in turn 3, and all of a sudden the car got sideways, and up into the outside wall he went. About the same place he wrecked at the very beginning of the Budweiser shootout. So again, the 20 car and Joe Logano are having some trouble here early on as far as this practice is concerned.
This is, I believe, his third encounter with the wall this week.
Yeah, he's definitely got his hands full, and he's bringing the car back to pit road. I mean, I think they're going to be able to effectively prepare it, but Larry, to me, the biggest thing is this young man's confidence. I mean, again, he's got his hands full out there, and he's been fighting his car ever since the first practice for the Budweiser shootout.
Yeah, he's fifth quickest. He had run 6 laps so far in his practice. And Mike, going back to what I talked about at the top of the show, finding that fine line between a fast race car and a good driving race car. And you don't have a lot of tools to work with. You're pretty much locked into the rear springs and the rear shocks because NASCAR mandates the rate of the rear springs and the rear shocks. What you have to work with mainly, front springs, front shocks, and front anti-roll bar. And what we've seen all week is these guys are pulling the front of the car down so hard and keeping it down because that speed, it just makes the car like it's on the edge the way you have to drive it. We saw right there, Joey drove down into 3 and 4. The car kicked out and got loose, and it walked up the racetrack and got into the wall.
So Logano goes to the garage. And at the top of the group are 3 Dodges. Remember, they finished in 6 of the top 8 spots in the 500 last year. Casey Kane, Kurt Busch, and Sam Hornish have the 3 fastest practice speeds. As we look at Hornish now, racing with Casey Mears in the 07 and Greg Biffle's 16. And Martin Truex in the 1. He's our pole sitter. You saw him headed for the garage there along with Sadler. Martin has thousands of new race fans in Georgia. Think about that one, and I'll explain it in a little bit. And so does Kurt Busch and Mark Martin.
I will have to think about that one. But back to the Dodge story, you're exactly right, Mike. And when I look at our qualifying sheet from Sunday, the fastest Dodge in qualifying was Reed Sorensen in the 43 car. He was 28th quickest. It's almost a replay of a year ago. We only had 1 Dodge in the top 20 for Daytona 500 a year ago, and that was Patrick Carpentier that had to qualify on time or race his way in. So I guess the moral of the story, we know that a lot of the Dodges are working with a new nose that has a little more front grip, more downforce, but I think the Dodgers are looking like they're in the same boat as a year ago. They don't have the ability to run that fast lap qualifying, but they're working on getting their cars to drive good.
3 of those Dodges, Casey Kane, Kurt Busch, and Sam Hornish lead practice.